And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode number 95. Well, we really are closing in on 100. I'm getting very excited. We have the great painting behind us. Sorry if it's a little echoey in this room. We're always moving and grooving here on Janky AF, Year of the Aerostar. And we're doing a little mini Canadian residency. So we'll continue on with that today. We have a beautiful one. And I guess without any further ado, let's introduce it. Here we have a 1994 Ford Aerostar Passenger, listed for $1 in Norfolk, Ontario. That's, some people say Norfolk or Norfolk or Norfolk, Ontario, Canada. And here we have a beautiful shot. We even have the Canadian flag in the background. So this is like, you know, oh Canada. And the other great thing, as you can probably tell by my t-shirt already, or my collared shirt here, it is teal. It's a teal Aerostar, probably my favorite Aerostar color, one of them anyways. The Cayman Green Metallic that we've seen on so many Ford vehicles. I was actually just looking at, you see them on Rangers. I saw a great, I don't even think it was a Ford, was it the Escort that it would have been? The Mercury Topaz, great car. Anyways, I digress. We're talking about Aerostars today. So, about this vehicle, driven 156,456 kilometers. Now, of course, I did not translate that, so allow me to look that up real quick and I'll edit the video.
Ever since man invented machines to move people, he has sought new ways to defeat the wind's resistance. And now there's a totally new aerodynamic design for this age. Ford brings you the age of Aerostar.
All right, hope you enjoyed that. So 156,456 kilometers. Is 97,217 miles. So under 100,000 miles on this beautiful, beautiful 1994 Aerostar. 94, interesting year. They hadn't quite been quote unquote canceled yet because after 95 they were supposed to go out of production. Of course, they soldiered on for 2 more years. Famous Aerostar story if you are familiar with the Aerostar, because dealerships and the manufacturer itself was bombarded, in Wikipedia's words, which I think has since been removed, sadly. But it's by all accounts, it's a true story. There was so much demand to keep the Aerostar because people liked it so much. And they weren't super excited about the Windstar, the incoming Windstar, being a front-wheel drive van and more passenger-focused, less like sort of dual-purpose focused. So 94's, before that, it was still like, you know, in the prime of its run, but getting towards the end, perhaps unbeknownst to the Aerostar itself. I see a lot of 93s. I feel like I see the odd years a lot. I feel like I see a lot of 91s, and I see a lot of 97s. The 92s, 94s, and 96s, I should look up the sales figures. And when all is said and done here, when we do our, you know, maybe we'll continue on. When we do our 365 episodes, I think I'll look at every one and see how the years broke down. You really do see far less of the 80s Aerostars. That's just a product of time. They were a little bit more rudimentary from like an interior perspective and like that, and just being older, you know, they were either discarded or, you know, what have you. They broke down and people didn't repair them. So, you know, it stands to reason the older the car. And I do see quite a bit of 97s too, so that kind of checks out too, because it was the last available year. Anyhow, we're looking at a 94 today, and that's a solid year. I do not own a 94 Aerostar, and my dream is to own one of every year, so this would be a candidate. I'm not sure why it says $1, but that seems like, you know, they're sort of fishing for offers here. We'll get into it. So about this vehicle, we've gone over the mileage, just under 100,000 miles, automatic transmission, exterior color green, Cayman Green Metallic to be specific, interior color gray. Fuel type is gasoline. Okay, for sale is my 94 Aerostar. It's in decent shape for the year. Rockers were started but not finished. I believe they mean were started but not finished. Where are the rockers? Well, they're in a state of progress, wherefore they are neither not yet started nor completed. But not started. Oh, where started but not finished. Okay. No punctuation, just one long run-on sentence. That's a mouthful. One long run-on sentence. I love this van. It's my daily, but looking for something different. It's my daily driver. So not in a rush. Offers lower than 4,000 will be ignored. Trades welcome. Thanks. So there you go. They probably just could have listed it at, 4,000 or best offer, because, best offer doesn't always mean lower. Sometimes best offer can mean higher. When my sweetheart sold her Subaru, she said, I think it was all broken down, hit by a deer, scrap basically. I think she said $1,000 her best offer, and she ended up getting more than 1,000 for it. So sometimes with the best offer, you think it's whatever the best, you figure people are going to offer lower than the price you've set. Sometimes they go over if you get into a bidding war and you get lucky. Anyways, I have a little pet peeve of the $1 listing, or the one that really gets me is the free listing, and then it's not free. That one really bothers me, because when I see a free sign, I start to get excited, and I just think that it's bad Facebook etiquette to say free. Now, $1, I don't mind so much, because it's like a sort of a Price is Right type thing, and obviously that means they're going to be fielding offers for this vehicle. And I get the strategy behind it, because you don't want to price yourself too low, because you never know, you might just get a higher offer. But, if they list it for 6,000 and say I won't take offers less than 4,000, then you have a firm buy it now price, you have a lowest offer price, and then you can sort of negotiate in between. So again, that's sort of like what I would consider the ethics of marketplace. But I don't mind this. It's sort of like an auction. It's, as they say, I love this van. It's my daily, but looking for something different. It's my daily driver. So not in a rush. Now, if they had punctuated it, I wouldn't be picking on them as much, but it's funny that they say it's my daily, but looking for something different, it's my daily driver. So in this instance, daily and daily driver, you even have two, you have the abbreviated and then the full length in the same sentence. But I get what they're saying. It's my daily is one part of the sentence, then the next part of the sentence is they're using the phrase it's my daily driver to communicate the point that they don't need to sell it, they're not in a rush to sell it. Which, is a strong bargaining tactic, honestly. Not just trying to dump this thing, trying to make it worth my while. All fair and reasonable. Now, of course, $4,000, that's Canadian dollars, and I guess we'll pause one more time and get that translation for you.
Aerostar. It just makes life a little easier. Aerostar. Ford Aerostar.
Okay, I really should come prepared here, but I did not do the research, so I apologize for that. Hopefully you enjoyed some of that sweet, sweet Aerostar content. I like doing these little commercial breaks now when I have to edit. 3,031 United States dollars. So they're not taking less than $3,000 for this 94 Aerostar. Under 100,000 miles, I've seen them for cheaper, but not a terrible price. So let's get into some of the pictures and see exactly what we're working with. So the front picture, very nice, Canadian flag. I like how it's got the little bug deflector on it, and it looks in very nice condition. But this picture does not do this van justice, because not only is this a Cayman Green Metallic Aerostar, but as you can see, we have these lovely side graphics on it. Now this does, the Aerostars did so many of these graphics packages that I just never know which ones are factory and which aren't, but I assume that this is a factory. But what's funny about it is it's got this motif on it. I don't know what that is, whether those are flames or the feathers of a bird or something like that. Very interesting the way this sort of flutters out and then goes back into an even bigger pinstripe in the back. We also have this little side molding here. This, I'm guessing, is not factory just because of where it ends. I would think it would maybe go onto the quarter panel there, but I could be wrong about that. And it looks like we do have a little chrome strip here, sort of a door jamb protector. And, sometimes they look a little weird, but I will say on my 93 Aerostar, that's Cayman Green Metallic, there are a couple little chips starting to form right on that door line. So, functional if nothing else. I like the hubcaps. The hubcaps, I believe, are not stock to the Aerostar. In fact, they almost look like a Chrysler product to me. They look like something you might see on a Caravan a few years after this Aerostar. But as far as hubcaps go, I don't mind them. They kind of work with the graphics package, I gotta say. It kind of all ties together nicely. Now I would probably put some nice steel wheels on this. Aerostar's 14-inch wheels, which is absolutely crazy if you think about it. I mean, my 2002 Jetta, which is a small car, And even for 2002, it's a pretty compact, small car. That has 15-inch stock steel tires, and those are the smalls. I believe you could option up a 16. The Aerostar only ever came with 14-inch wheels, which is only 1 inch bigger than my Fiat X19, which is basically a golf cart. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Now, people do put bigger wheels on these. A lot of Ranger wheels will bolt right on. I believe it's a 5x4.5 bolt pattern or 5x114.3, very common bolt pattern. But the thing you got to be aware of is the center bore, because I think being like a hub on the little bit of the smaller side, I think the center bore is not that wide. So you got to make sure that you know, the center bore on your wheels are going to fit. Now, if it's small, you would think it would accept the larger one. The long and short of it is I tried to put Jeep snowflake wheels on, and I read all this literature online, a million forums. Yeah, they'll fit fine. And then I went and bought them and they didn't fit. So, you know, do your research, and if at all possible, actually physically test it out before you put it on there. And then, of course, you have to worry about offset and stuff like that. Now, some of that can be fixed with spacers and the like. I'm not a huge fan of spacers. It seems a little janky to me. And believe it or not, sometimes things are too janky for even me. But a fantastic picture there. Not only do you have this body molding and then the horizontal pinstriping, it looks like you even have a little shot of bright teal in there, and then this white sort of gradient pattern that sort of slowly gets skinnier and skinnier, which I absolutely love. But you also have these pinstripes coming to a peak here and then shooting all the way back on this beautiful curved line that we like to talk about on the front quarter panel, and going all the way to the top with it looks like another shot of teal there. So, you know, it's funny. And even I think I see a third shot of teal, bright teal, going down here. So it looks, and we always talk about the horizontal lines on the Aerostar, and these you know, little graphics packages just accentuate that, and you realize how much is going on here in a seemingly ostensibly simple package, but it's more than meets the eye. There's a whole lot of design going on, which we like to talk about a lot on this program. Okay, moving ahead. Here we have the backside again with the Canadian flag. It's so perfect. I think I might have to make this my thumbnail with a Canadian flag in there. So that's nice. Again, semi-side exhaust. I like to talk about that. You know, now I can't tell if it's teal or if these are like they covered up their rust spots with teal. And, you know, they weren't lying. We do have some corrosion here going on the rockers, although I guess this is where they started it and didn't finish it. It doesn't look terrible, but you really never know till you get under there and see quite how pokey it is and quite how bad it is, if it's affected the frame at all. But I gotta say, for, you know, a 20-plus-year-old car that's lived in Canada, presumably its whole life, really doesn't look bad and looks like something you could clean up with, you know, not too much effort. Moving on to the back, I almost wanted to make this the thumbnail because I absolutely love this shot. I mean, those pinstripes, how they wrap around right at the edge of your taillights. You have this big shot of teal here. And then I just love how this gradient pinstripe frames both your Ford logo on your right and your Aerostar logo on your left, the XL package. I just absolutely love that. You know, it's already super 80s with the Aerostar logo itself, just being in this font, and then you add like a gradient pinstripe. It's just like completes the package. I mean, this little, you know, 12 by 3 inch is just like, you know, find me a better example of Radwood than that. I would put that right up there with a DeLorean for like, you know, peak 80s. Looks like we do have some mud flaps, or at least one mud flap. You wonder if the other mud flap couldn't be installed because of your semi-side exhaust, which is pretty funny. So I just love that rear view of the Aerostar there, and I always love sort of head-on shots of the front and the rear. We have our tailgate open. You can see both bench seats still in there. That's nice because, you know, my green 93 that I bought, my Sport, which I finally just drove the other day, which was wonderful, does not have any of the bench seats. And at first it's like, I don't really care. And I use it for hauling a lot, so it was kind of just nice not to have to store bench seats. But sometimes you're like, man, I wish I had the bench seats. And on top of that, now the gray bench seats are actually fairly common, but they made these Aerostar seats in so many different color combinations. So if you want to like really nerd out and be totally like factory, then I would have to find both bench seats, the middle and the rear, and find them both in the perfect gray color to match the front seats. Now you could throw in, it'd be also conversely fun to just like throw one that's like tan with red pinstriping and one that's like dark blue and just have a smorgasbord. And I'm not above that at all. I think it would look cool, but it really depends on what you're going for. Curiously here, which is funny, is I feel like they've put the middle seat with the armrest in the way back, and they've put the full length seat, which is cut short to allow for someone to get in the door, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe this is how they actually were, but I think this armrest seat should go up here, and then the what's sitting in the middle should be all the way in the back. But that's kind of funny to me. It's nice that they are interchangeable because, in theory, maybe you want to align them that way. Now, boy, I wish I could see in the interior again. Yeah, so this does have 2 sets of seats in it, which is crazy because for how, look at how short, it's not a long vehicle. And even with 2 sets of seats in it, which you can see here, look at how much room you still have behind that in just the standard length Aerostar. That's a good bit of space. Like most small crossovers that you buy nowadays probably have this much space or less because they're all curved and swooped at the top, with only 1 row of seats in the back. And most giant SUVs that have a 3rd row, the 3rd row is tucked so far back and it's kind of cramped back there that you almost have no space behind there. So the utility of this vehicle and the amount of space that is in this vehicle for its size is just really astounding. It never ceases to amaze me. So there you go. Okay, we get a better look at this gray interior. I really do like the gray interior in the Aerostar. Power windows here, which is a nice little upgrade, because the more of these Aerostars I look at, the more I realize how often they had crank windows, which is cool. But one day I'd like one with power windows. Get a little better close-up shot here. Now this is interesting how this teal goes into the door jamb and this white doesn't. I wonder if this teal was like added at some point and it's like a secondary aftermarket addition to what your factory graphics already were. Although this one does not go into your door jamb, so I don't know. You'd have to do some Aerostar sleuthing there and see exactly what the graphics packages were, but we get a little bit, we can see a little bit more, just a little bit better resolution here. Really, really phenomenal looking graphics package on this Aerostar. It really does look quite nice. I myself would probably swap out those hubcaps for something a little bit more flashy, or put alloys on it. But here you have, again, your rear seats, all gray. I really like that. I love the headrest. The headliner looks to be in quite good condition. And you got your usual dirt and stuff in here, as this is a daily driver, or a daily. So to be expected. Looks like we have a set of winter snow tires that come with it. That makes sense for Canada. It certainly makes sense for the Northeast. I always try to run snow tires on my vehicles. And lastly, a nice above shot. That's a shot we don't get to see too often. So I like that they actually took a shot of the roof to show the condition of the roof. Now, that's sort of, I like the factory roof rack. I like how many slats it has in it. And this is actually a really good shot because a lot of times you never see the roof of the vehicles in these listings. And this kind of just shows you sometimes the roofs are like really beat. And it's usually the first place where, either sun fade or corrosion will start to set in. A lot of water sits on top of them. The roof of this looks very nice. And also, we just don't get to see the roof of the Aerostar that often. And if I may, another beautiful design element with these 4 vertical slats going all the way up. And then it's hard to see here, but they just, as the roof line sort of goes down and swoops into that famous profile, these things just sort of feather out as they meet the depth of where the roof line is at. So, and it looks like they're even a little bit asymmetrical, where the 2 at the top or the middle end just a little bit earlier than the ones on the side. So a really cool picture that we don't get to see that often there. I appreciate that. Maybe this will be the sneaky thumbnail. If I double this one up, that would actually look pretty cool. But hard to argue with the Canadian flag there for sure. So there you have it. Norfolk, Ontario. A really nice Aerostar, and I gotta say, if they're not going any lower than $3,000, you'd have to go up and get it if you're in the United States. But the fact that it's a daily driver makes me, on one hand, yeah, more wear and tear. On the other hand, this thing is proven. The 93 I bought was a daily driver, and it's just nice to know that someone's been driving this thing every day. It hasn't been sitting around, and presumably it's had maintenance done to it, and you just know that you can get in it and go. Now, will problems arise? Yeah, inevitably. But it's not like something's been sitting for so long where you don't know if the gas is good, you have no idea what the brakes are like. The worst thing you can do to a car is not drive it. That's what they say, and I kind of believe that, especially after maintaining my fleet and not driving cars for a while. That it always seems like something pops up, and then you just don't have the peace of mind of, oh, I've been driving this thing. The more you drive a car, the more confident you get with it. So I think that's sort of a selling point in and of itself. So there you have it. Episode 95 in the books. We're so close to 100 episodes. We're also so close to 600 subscribers. We just picked up a couple more. We'll see which milestone we hit first. But in either case, and in both cases, I'm very, very excited. Thank you so much. I have to respond to some more comments. Really appreciate all those. I love interacting with people. I love talking about the Aerostar. There you have it. This is being recorded on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. I saw my father today. Gonna see him again for dinner. So Janky do thanky to all the fathers out there. And even though it will have passed by the time you watch this, but that's okay. We'll have another one for you very soon here on Janky AF and this program Year of the Aerostar. And until then, Janky do thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.